Alrighty, what's going on? This is Quamon Fowler. I wanted to come on here and talk about something. I had an epiphany moment. Um, I was really thinking about making a decision to go all in. And I think this is going to be very helpful because a lot of people aren't really committed or they don't have the fortitude or they don't have the security to like go all in. And the thing that's very interesting about that whole idea um, of going all in or thinking about doing it like your life depends on it, usually when you're young, it's actually true. It's because you don't know any better. But I think the problem occurs when you get so much information and you feel like you're overwhelmed, and then it kind of paralyzes you from actually moving forward. And so, as you get older, if you haven't like secured your identity in what is your thing, then it becomes like even harder because you know too much. You're aware of too much, too many scenarios, and even examples of people that, and yourself, coulda, shoulda. You thinking about what you could have done and what you should have done, but you're not um, just making the decision to do it. And the thing that's very ironic about that, when you decide to do something and you just do it and you're laser focused to where every day you pursue that thing, you're going to get it. And so as I was thinking about how God created us in his own image and his own likeness, so when God spoke a thing, he imagined it first, he spoke it like a hand, it was created. Once he created the heavens and the earth, then he was like, well, all of this stuff, we need to have some human beings like myself are created in the image of he. And he created man, and then from man he created woman. Then he gave them all of the earth to have dominion of and to subdue it. And so if you look at the result of everything that we have, it's an invention, the mouse that we use, the trackpad, y'all can't see that. Can you see it? Yeah. The trackpad, the keyboard for us to be able to type, and the arrangement of letters on the keyboard. All of these are thoughts. And the mixing board right here, the keyboard, these are thoughts. These are all inventions that people decided to go all in on. And the thing about it, we're not done. There's so many different things that still haven't been created. Now we know um, Solomon said in Ecclesiastes, there's nothing new under the sun. But at the same time, when you are created in the image of God, we're creative. We can do whatever we put our mind to. So it's like we sell ourselves short when we don't go all in or do things like our life depends upon it. And sometimes we go through stages and levels and even seasons where we're around certain people, and those people, based on their education, their mentality, we're kind of equal. But then once you get exposed to something that's a little bit more, has more depth, or you're informed a little bit more, you'll kind of leave those people. And then you'll find that those people are going to be threatened by your progressiveness, or they're not ready to go or maturing like you're maturing. And so you might need to leave them behind. And it's nothing personal, but it's just what's required of you in order for you to go all in order for you to do whatever it is, like your life depends on it. And so people are not going to understand because they don't have the same vantage point. They don't have the same experiences. They don't have the same convictions and faith and those things. And so what happens is, like, God will give you something, or he'll put something in you, and it's up to us to unfold that, for us to nurture whatever that is, that giftedness that we have. And the thing about it, like, even to be honest with you, like, initially was fascinated with saxophone and learned jazz and became a successful musician and composer and put out records and stuff like that. But really, it's even deeper than that, or it can actually go beyond that. And that kind of goes into the reason why I created my book, The Christian Musician. Let me see if I got it over here. I always think about it, and then I forget. I forget to have it to show it. But anyway, The Christian Musician, the subtitle is Learn What Your Real Gift Is and How to Succeed With and Beyond Your Music. And one of the things I learned is that your giftedness is the way you think. As a musician, or really anybody, your gift is not what you do. It's the way you think. What you do is a medium by which the way that you think is displayed, or your giftedness is displayed through. So my mindset, my message is valuable. And so once I started realizing that, it kind of allowed me to graduate, and then I had to, do this metamorphosis. I had to transform or go to more of teaching and speaking. And so that's something that then again, it's like, just like how I went all in or did things when I would play and write, and when I would, do things musically, I would do it like my life depended upon it. And I had that fervence. And so now with the family, I have to do the same thing, but my assignment is changing. You know what I'm saying? And so that's always hard, because when you're used to a certain persona, or playing into a certain persona, as whether it's music related and performance related, you get used to that. But then you start finding that God wants you to go and take it a step further. And you can think about David. David is a great example, because he was a great songwriter. He was a great harp player, but he also was a great shepherd. He took care of the sheep. He defeated lions and bears with a slingshot. He defeated Goliath because he wasn't no punk. He wasn't scared, because one, he had trust and faith in God, and two, he had skill and he had experience because he was always taking care of the sheep. And so it was like a small task for him to take down the giant when he was boastful. And so, because how God had set him apart, when Samuel came to anoint the next king, he looked at Jesse's sons. They didn't even consider David because they were looking on the outer appearance. But God had already chosen David to be the next king. And so the thing about that right there were so many qualities that David had developed just from him being in his own place, being responsible for the things that God had entrusted him with, and he wasn't tainted. And so God had chose him to be the king. And so to be a king, you're not just playing harp. You know what I'm saying? You are ruling. You're over a whole kingdom. You know what I'm saying? You're responsible for people. You have to make good decisions. You have to be a great administrator, you know, a delegator, and all of that. You have to have so many skills. And so I started, well, we started earlier on when I was, you know, in my early 20s, we studied David and as musicians, and we always admired the qualities. And if you think about his songs, you know, his songs are in the Bible. That's the Psalms of David. You know what I'm saying? So he wrote music, but he was also a great king. And so when you mature as a musician and you get to that point where, you know, it's not just about the music, it's about my thought process, the way I organize things, and I need to even package those things. And the thing about it, God will use people around you that will see the call on your life, and they'll give you that nudge. They'll say things because they can see it. It's like it's all over you. So you have to just embrace it and just be obedient and watch how God will provide. He'll make provision for that vision, and he will, you know, the blessings will come from your being obedient. And so I was thinking about that and I was like, man, I need to do it live, because even with doing videos here with YouTube, really, you got to make a decision to go all in. You got to make a decision. So I know a lot of people, once again, there's so many distractions. There's so many different types of content and people who are just posting stuff. But if you think about it, time is going to pass without you being committed or with you being committed anyway. So you got to decide now what you're going to do and go ahead and do it like your life depends upon it. I think the issue is insecurity. Like you don't really know what you want to do, or you don't have any confidence in who you are. Now, where does confidence come from? Okay, so it's really deep. I'm working on my book, my second book, and I'm talking about consistency. And in it, I was just talking about how, you know, when you're secure, first of all, I'm talking about your purpose, right? And you need to know your purpose. It's almost like your destination. So if you think about your life, we all have an expiration date unless Jesus comes and gets us before that expiration date, if you are a believer. So think about that. Like my perspective is a biblical perspective. So I have a perspective that I need to use my time that I have now to fulfill my mission and finish the work, the good work that was started within me. You know, I need to do the assignment that God has placed upon me to do. Okay, and so that's not to say I know everything, but when you are aware of an authority and you submit to that authority, then you start to learn what your assignment is, and then you have to be obedient to walk in that, you know? And so let's go smaller. I mean, let's talk about just things that you want, like you want a family, you know, or you want a girlfriend or boyfriend, you know, and then eventually get married. A lot of times, you know, all of that's like distorted, but I'm not going to go down that road. Let's talk about purpose. I'm talking about purpose and going all in and doing things like your life depends on it. So if you get laser focused, let's say I want a wife. If you're a guy, most people who watch the channel are guys. So you want a wife, okay? Let's say you're dating. This is the one. Okay, let's do this. Let's get married. So if you get married, you got to provide. you know. And then it's not just about making money. You have to have leadership. You have to have leadership skills. You got to be one who's able to submit to authority, have others who've been there, done that, who are people you can learn from so that you can gain wisdom on how to be a better leader. Because what is happening, your wife depends on you, and then eventually you'll have some kids, and now you'll be responsible for leading that family. And when the kids come, you know, it's all about administration. It's all about being a great leader. So your profession or your persona as a musician really doesn't mean anything inside your home. Like, it's all about you being a leader, you being daddy, you being the janitor, you being the maintenance man, you being over the finances. You know what I'm saying? You got to do all of that. I mean, it's just a part of it. You got to be a good teammate. You know what I'm saying? You got to reason. It's a lot of responsibilities that comes with being a father and being a husband. And so there's responsibilities that are beyond and outside of our craft of music. Whereas, you know, the Lord might have allowed you the time to use your music as a tool and a way for you to discipline yourself and sharpen your skills. And it also made your brain really hip, because now you got this really unique, cool way of thinking about things because you've practiced an instrument. And so that's very engaging to the brain. But what will happen is, you know, God will allow you to go through situations and circumstances, have relationships with certain people, learn from different people, and then you'll be putting these dots together and boom, poof, he's giving you another assignment. You thought that you was just going to do music. You thought that you was just going to be out there performing and playing with folk. You know, you thought that was it, but that wasn't it. I mean, it was for a season, but now it's time for you to go ahead and accept the next assignment. Now you gotta switch up. You gotta change things up. You gotta dress yourself and get ready. It's like literally working for another company, or you know what I'm saying. You have one job or one company, and you have these tasks that you are to do. You know, you do well, you get promoted, you get more responsibilities. You know, if it's the same company, then, you know, you learn, you know how the culture is, and you got a good feel for how everything goes, so you get promoted. But if you're gonna go to a completely different company, then you got to start over. You got to learn the culture, you got to learn the people, you got to learn what the objectives are, and then you got to see how you're going to fit in this new position. And so when you're one who is growing and maturing in your relationship with the Lord, and you're a musician, you'll get to that point where, you know what, it's not just about playing gigs. You know, it's not just about putting out music. I'm seeing a deeper or a pressing issue that I need to address, because you'll see that the gap between what you have and what the younger generations don't have and don't even understand, you'll see that gap is getting bigger and bigger. So it's more of a pressing issue and urgency on you to communicate that to the next generation, because they need what you have. Because now there's so much of a dependency on artificial intelligence, everything being quick, whereas the work and all of the data is already there. So it's mostly just put together so fast like a microwave, but it's not healthy for the individual because they haven't been through anything. So what ends up happening, the younger generations are easily manipulated because they just don't know. They don't know. Right is wrong and wrong is right. You know, fast is what's the way instead of waiting. So they're impatient. Their attention span is short. They don't have any depth. You can look at the players, the musicians. So a lot of the youngsters, I mean, if they're so used to 60-second clips, TikTok and reels and all of that, it has conditioned their mind a certain way. So for them to take an hour or more, even to practice, a lot of the younger generation, uh, they just don't have the attention span to just practice and spend long hours on an instrument. But anyway, I'm just saying there's a pressing thing, on our heart if you're over 30 or 40, you know what I'm saying? So it's like we have to teach, we have to share this message or help those better organize themselves when it comes to how they go about life. You know what I'm saying? Because my thing was, when I was so hard pressed to write my first book, it was like a burden. It was like, oh, I have to do this. Oh, it was just such a thing that was pressing. And so I did it, and I did it in 3 months. Started in November and finished in January. And no, I'm sorry, November, October, November, December. So yeah, I started in October, and I put it out in January. Yeah. And so I put it out, and then later, this was 2015, and then 2020, I believe, or 19 maybe, I put out the audiobook. So the audiobook is there. And I recorded it. I sat in here and recorded each chapter. And the thing about it, when people are in awe, it's like, man, how did you do it? When God tell you to do something, like you've heard, it's like fire shut up in your bones. It's like he'll press you. It's like, you got to do this. It'll be burning and bubbling up in you. You just have to do it, and you do it. And that's why I was saying, the topic of this is do things like your life depends on it, because that's really true. Your life and other people's lives depends on you being obedient, because me doing that book helped people across the world. And people would hit me up and let me know, man, your book was so good. And even lady, I played a gig, and this was an older white lady, and she was like, I read your book. Oh, it's so good. I really enjoyed it. I read it twice. I was like, wow. So you never know what your fruit, look at here, y'all. You never know the fruit that's going to come from your fruit, right? So fruit has seed in it. So other people eat that fruit, and then they receive seed. And then those people are able to go and create. And it's watered and nurtured. You might be the one to plant the seed. You might be one to help nurture that. And those people go and they do things, and that affects others from your obedience and also your disobedience. So we're going to be on one side of the fence or the coin. You know what I'm saying? Either you're just staying, doing the thing that you believe that you're supposed to be doing, and you're afraid to go that extra mile or go all in for that thing that's been like urging you, hey, you really need to step it up. You really need to do this. Like, you can stay right there, and then you make other people feel like, okay, this is just what it's about. This is just how it is. Or you could be like, you know what? I'm feeling like I need to start teaching, or I need to write my book, or I need to go ahead and record. I need to go ahead and do my YouTube channel and start sharing. When you decide to do that, you just do not know what's on the other side of that. Like, your obedience is going to start so many things. Like you encourage people, you become an example, you become even a role model, even if you feel like you don't know what you're doing. Like your obedience to God, God knows what He's doing. He'll use you to do exactly or to say or to be exactly who you need to be at that particular time for a specific person. And we don't have any control over that, but I know what we have control over is ourselves and being obedient to what He said do. So that's why you have to do things like your life depends on it, because it really does. Like your life, to really operate in the abundance. Jesus said that he came that we might have life and might have it more abundantly. So you have to abide in Him and He abide in you so that you can bear fruit and your fruit will remain. So you can't get, or let's say this, you can go but so far when you're disconnected from Him, because you'll be insecure. You know what I'm saying? So you'll run out of gas or hit a ceiling. You got to think about it. The industries of this world are created by man. They're man-made. So, when you try to get to the top of an industry within this world and you don't have a relationship with God, you'll end up compromising, prostituting yourself, your gifts. You'll be used, feel unfulfilled, and all of those things. Even when you're at the top, I've been there, and I was confused. I was needing direction, and so when I actually prayed and asked God for direction, He took me away from focusing on music and the industry, and that's kind of like what I'm telling you all, and had me focus on just being a solid man and a husband, because I needed to prepare myself to be a father. And so those things are the value, because your longevity lies in you knowing who you are and what you're called to do. Like music is small. It helps people. It's a blessing to people. It prepares atmospheres, but it's only one aspect of a bigger picture, or you know what I'm saying? And it can play a part, just like how I mentioned David's music contribution. It played a part, but it wasn't the everything, you know? And but yeah, and the thing that's ironic with that whole thing is with music, that makes it very much a challenge for us. God created Lucifer as a musician, a music angel, and the instruments were built into his body. He was beautiful and everything, but he got corrupt. He wanted to be higher than God. He wanted to be worshiped as God. Influenced a third, of the angels, and so was kicked out of heaven, came to the earth. They, he shows up first in the form of a serpent and throws out something, an idea that gets the woman to look at it. He appeals to the lust of her eyes, the lust of the flesh, and the pride of life. He presented an idea, a concept. Hey, you eat this fruit, you won't surely die. You'll be as gods, and you have the knowledge of good and evil. He wanted to set up his kingdom here on the earth. And as you look at what we have, the kingdoms of this world, the entertainment industries and music and how it's used, its perversion is like always, connected to the music industry. And of course, what we hear is like a lot of perverted stuff, but that's because Lucifer, that's his thing. So for us to be in the music industry, if you're a believer and you're trying to do stuff the way that the world is doing it, you're always gonna hit these ceilings or run into these dead ends where it's like, no, you have to do it the way that everybody else is doing it in order to be quote unquote successful if you're going to play by those rules. So you actually come to a crossroads where you got to be like, you know what? I am not. I am not going to do that. I don't want to do that, God. I just want to take care of my family. I have a skill set. I enjoy playing music. I'm just trying to take care of my family and do well, my kids and all of that. So that's where it's going to require you to trust him and do things his way. And that's going to take you kind of beyond that persona or help to mature you to go past just looking at yourself as a musician. Okay? So you got to go all in and do things like your life depends upon it. And it's true, like your life depends on it, your wife, your family, your kids, their lives depends on you going all in. And watch, God will transform you into what he's called you to be and how he wants you to function. And if you trust him, what you'll do will be different from what everybody else is doing. You will be a trendsetter. You'll create a path like you talk about in Isaiah, behold, I will do a new thing. Do you not perceive it? I will create a path in the desert. You know what I'm saying? So what do we have? We got a lot of desert out there in the industry. How many people are authentic? How many people really have a heart towards God that have are playing at a high level? How many people who are not ashamed of, their relationship and actually are able to make money and are able to influence people for the good without it being tainted? You know what I'm saying? Those type of things are rare because we're so bombarded with all of the trash. You know what I'm saying? Because the enemy is insecure. So for people who are insecure, they're always in your face because they're trying to prove or validate things by their actions. People who are secure are humble, meek and quiet. You know what I'm saying? Because there's nothing to prove because everything is dictated by their faith and their trust in God. So God is secure. When you're secure in him, you're not loud. You do things by from that place of strength and that anchor that you have in trust in him because you know that he'll provide. So the enemy will have you being anxious. He'll have you try to manipulate with fear to get you to do something because he wants you to play on his terms. When you play the game by his terms, he can manipulate. He can take advantage of you. But when you're obedient to the voice of the Lord and you're not moved and you're not easily manipulated or taken advantage of, then you'll have peace, you'll have protection, you'll have the covering, and it has everything to do with your faith and your trusting in him, right? All right, so that's it. I just wanted to share that with you, and I hope that was helpful. I would invite you, if you are one who wants to be a part of our Sound Collective, you can join it. It's a link in the description where we have a group on Telegram. Also, if you would like to be a part of the mentorship program, The Sound Musician, I've provided a link there as well in the description of this video. I see you there. Thank you so much. What's going on, Johnny? Yes, sir. God bless you as well. Yes, sir. All right. So any questions? If not, that'll be all for tonight, and we'll see y'all on the next one. Okay. Peace.